Hi, everyone. I'm Tran Bowie. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're so excited because this is our very first virtual happy hour, and we're going to step it up a notch and make it a cocktail cooking or a cocktail class as well. So if you've been stuck at home, you shouldn't be stuck with boring drinks. And here to help us is this fabulous lady. This is Bethany Forrest.
Hello.
She is the owner of Tchin in Atlanta, a mobile bartender service. I love that, Bethany.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. It's a passion project for me, definitely.
So how does that work? You come to us.
Yes, so I'm literally mobile. I actually have a mini bar that I have set up too. So I come to you, and it can range anywhere from standard, pouring drinks for you. I also have a la carte options that people can ask for a craft cocktail, a signature cocktail, mocktails I do. So I come to you, I bring the accoutrements and help your event have a wonderful time. I do the beverage program basically.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Quarantine probably has affected your business. How has that been?
Very much. In addition, like I said, Tchin Atlanta is my personal baby. It's my company. But I'm also an event bartender. So I work for Premier Events in Tabernacle, Atlanta. I do a lot of the concerts, a lot of the festivals. And then Tchin was where I got to play with the simple syrups and the bitters that I make. I would make them anyway, but I really love it. So I get to apply it to people's events. And with COVID, everything changed. So on the festival side, within 24, 48 hours, my event calendar was empty. Same with Tchin. I had weddings booked and a couple of graduation parties. And, deposits are usually non-refundable, but I refunded them because why would I? I understand we were all in a bind. So yeah, it was a rapid succession, but now I'm doing the virtual cocktail hours. And so
Yeah, so I love that. And that's actually how I found Bethany, is she has this fabulous Instagram page, and she's been making all these wonderful things, and she has this awesome energy. And so when you get a chance after this broadcast, follow her for lots of great tips. But before we move to our first drink, tell me about Tchin and what that means.
So Tchin is actually a European cheers. Chin is just like salud or brava or cheers. So I wanted something that captured the moment of the festiveness and jubilation and good times. And so I wanted my company to kind of encompass that. I go for that with my cocktails and with everything that I create, but I wanted my company to also be signified with that too. So Tchin, every time you say it, you have to smile. And it has a little flair and a little class to it too. And I personally love it. So Tchin it was.
Awesome.
Thank
We're
you.
going to have several cocktails today, and we're going to be toasting as well. So I find that, so my husband loves bourbon. He's loved bourbon for years. And I'm kind of late on the bourbon, appreciation party. So I've probably started drinking about 2 years ago. It's been so big. I feel even more. Why is that?
I think that bourbon has the same appeal as wine does. So wine, you can have just any cocktail. You can throw vodka in a Red Bull in a glass and you drink it, and it serves its purpose. It gives you energy and has you feeling nice. I think bourbon you have to learn to appreciate. And I think that it's a little more complex and you feel a little more accomplished knowing about the bourbon. A lot of people will even go to the bourbon trail to see the whole process of the aging and distillation. I think wine is the same way. You get to appreciate the notes. You get to have a full experience, taste, smell, the sight, everything that wine has, bourbon has the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they're both in barrels and they both pick up the notes from the barrels. It's fun, and you get to learn a little bit more about things, and it's an experience that can be shared as well.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And your favorite?
Oh boy, I love Buffalo Trace.
Okay.
I'm actually a tie for the Four Roses small batch that we're going to use today. As you can see, I love it. And Buffalo Trace as well. They're both, they have high caramel notes. I tend to like high rise bourbons. So it has a little bit more of the rye in the mixture. So it makes it smoother on the finish. The peppers in the front, it's a smooth finish. And I just love the caramel and the red berry, like the dried fruit and dried spice notes of these particular bourbons.
So you've sold us on it. Let's start with our first drink. So you are going to show it. I mean, a lot of people just drink it straight, with or without ice, but the bourbon cocktails are very popular. So I've had an old fashioned and I've had a Manhattan. So you're going to show us how to make a bourbon sour, which is something I have not made. So take it away.
Yes, so bourbon sour. Now, I like to drink mine neat or on ice as well. I really enjoy bourbon, but a lot of people need a little bit more of a cushion to enjoy the bourbon. I also have a thing with fresh is best. So I don't use sour mixes or any kind of grenadines. And so we are going to do our fresh from scratch bourbon sour with my wonderful small batch.
Okay, I have my stuff too.
Oh, you have? That's right.
Yes, I have it.
You're going to build the drink with me, Tran?
I'm going to make it with you.
I'm excited. Okay. So what we're going to do first is we're going to grab our shaker or glass, whichever you're using.
Okay.
You can use either one.
I'm in my kitchen, so
I love it. Okay, all right. Okay, so we are going to do 2 ounces. Do you have a measure or a jigger by any chance?
I do.
Wonderful. So the larger side.
So is this 2 ounces on this side or is this 1.5?
That may be 1.5. There are different jiggers. Some are 1.5, some are 1 1/4, 2 ounce. You just use the larger side of the jigger. It's okay.
Got it.
So we're going to pour our bourbon into the larger half of the jigger.
Okay.
And pour that on into the shaker.
Okay.
Now, do you have simple syrup or do you have honey?
So I have simple syrup, but I also have the honey.
Wonderful. Okay, and I'll tell you why I ask. We have simple syrup here, which is your basic granulated sugar, which is perfect. But I also have a honey, which I think adds more flavor and complexity, and it picks up the honey notes of the bourbon.
Okay.
Okay, and you could also use light brown sugar as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's just a matter of flavor or taste preference. Okay, so we are now going to do 1 ounce of the honey syrup. Okay. Pour that right on in. Okay. It's always nice to put the lip of the jigger right onto the glass. It keeps the splash down. Little trick of the trade. Okay, so now you have your lemon?
Yes.
Perfect. We're going to use the equivalent of half of a lemon.
Okay.
And I forgot that I take these larger size lemons. So, you can't have too much lemon juice. You won't have it too much, but we're going to take half of the lemon.
Got it.
If you have this fruit press, you can use that, or you can just squeeze it right on into the shaker.
Okay, I'm going to use some muscle.
Just use some muscle. We can all use a little more exercise with the COVID.
Right.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so now we are going to ice our tin or our shaker. And since we have about 4 ounces, I want to say, of product in here. So we're only going to fill it up about halfway. Third of the way.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and place that glass on top of that shaker.
Okay.
Pop it a little bit. Oh, perfect. I love those shakers. Those are the best. All right. And we're going to shake it good for about 15 seconds. Okay.
Is there a technique to this?
What'd you say?
Is there a technique to this?
You know what? You can actually put it over your shoulder like this and shake that one. Okay. You just act like you're shaking it behind you, but you don't want to shake it. Okay. So now that off. Now, do you have ice in your glass yet?
No, but okay. I'll run and get that. We have those molds too. So I have the round one and the cubes too. Oh,
Fantastic.
Does it matter which one?
No, I tend to go with the larger cubes. So whichever one you have, because it keeps the bourbon cold without watering it down. I find the smaller cubes melt so fast.
Oh,
so this is denser, so it takes longer to melt. So I'm glad you have a mold. They work out wonderfully.
My husband has a few.
So now you can pour that over your ice, and I'm actually just going to show you a little something to add to your whiskey sour to give it the foam. Whiskey sours, bourbon sours are classic cocktails, and these were created about 1870s or so.
Okay.
And they didn't have the additives to create foam. They used egg white. So I'm going to add egg white to this.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. What I'm going to do is you want to take the ice out of it. And what we're going to do is a reverse dry shake. And I'll show you how we're going to do that.
Yeah, roll up our sleeves for that.
You know, if you want a good drink, you got to work for it. You know what I mean? So we'll take an egg and you just crack that in half. And you should have a little, you can go right into the shaker or you can use a separate ramekin.
Okay.
And you're just going to separate the egg white from the yolk by going back and forth. I don't know if it's showing, but just get that egg white out, which we have. And now we're going to add that to our bourbon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. Actually, let me use this one. And we won't put any ice. We're going to do a reverse dry shake, which is we've already shaken it with the ice. Now we're going to shake it for about 15 seconds. What's going to happen now, after we've broken up the egg white, you'll see how it'll come out.
Oh, my goodness.
It adds air to the egg white, and it's a really nice presentation. You'll just pour that right into your glass.
I need a closer look. Wow.
So as that settles, you'll see the foam start to take shape, and then the lemon and the bourbon will be on the bottom.
Wow. Awesome. Okay, I'll try that when we're done.
Now we're just going to dress it up.
Oh, there's more. Okay.
Just a little bit more.
Yeah, I want to see.
So we're going to you have earned this drink. It's going to be a wonderful drink. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to now take a maraschino cherry.
Have that.
And I also cut an orange half.
Okay. Yep.
You're going to just take a half of a wheel. I like to do little fancy things like this here. Let me show you.
Yeah, show me.
So you put you'll put this spear right through the flesh of the orange and the cherry, and then carry it right over to the other side of the orange.
Okay.
So it creates a little flag.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You see?
Yes. So pretty. Okay. Mine won't look like that.
It'll look even better, Tran. I know it.
I didn't have an orange, so I have a tangerine.
Tangerine's always good. Citrus is citrus.
It doesn't look the same.
It looks gorgeous, and it's a bourbon cherry.
It'll taste the same.
And there you go.
Wow.
All right. Chin Chin.
Yes. Oh, love it.
Yes, let's partake.
Ooh.
Do you see
the sour? I'll have to try it with the egg when we're done.
Oh, yes, for sure. It really adds a smoothness to the cocktail, too, which is very nice.
So I know that not everyone is into bourbons. So what are some popular requests that you get when you go to parties?
Oh, I actually still get cosmopolitan requests a lot.
Oh, okay.
You know, which made a resurgence. I remember around the Sex and the City time, it was all. But I get that. I get a lot of Moscow mules.
Okay.
Mule, Moscow Mule, Mexican Mule. So it's any one of those spirits, tequila, vodka, or whiskey with ginger beer and a little lime. Very popular. Guaranteed half the night I'm going to be asked for that.
Okay.
And old fashions.
Old fashions. Okay. Yeah. So for a while there, I was on the big Moscow Mule kick. So I
Tito's and ginger beer.
Yeah, we were so into that. I was introduced to it in Rochester, New York. And so we would request it everywhere. So
Right.
let's talk about some of the local breweries and distilleries and wineries. Like we have a lot in this region. So talk about some of your favorites.
Oh man, you know what's wonderful about this time off? Once those places open, I get to explore a little bit more. Of course, we have Chateau Elan, and they have a winery.
Yes.
Use-wise, though, Fruitland Augusta is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Now, that is located in Augusta, so it's not here in Atlanta, but they are named after Fruitland Nursery. You know, the peach is a Georgia staple. We're known for our peach, and they really took time to get a breed of peach that would thrive here in Georgia because of the temperature being so humid and we have really high highs. So they make a peach vodka, and they also make a peach tea vodka.
Oh, wow.
And they use the skins of the peaches. So it's not a really high sugar content. Some of the other spirits will have a lot of sugar added. This uses more fruit, just like Grey Goose does. They use the essence of the fruit more than sugar would be. So this is a wonderful favorite of mine. Also, in terms of beer, Second Self Brewery is right here. It's actually, I want to say West Midtown, Atlanta is where they're located, and they have such wonderful beers. They have a stout that I love. I think it's called the Stepdad. And then they have another one. They have a Ghost. They have different double IPAs and regular IPAs. They just have a really nice range of beer. So Second Self Brewery, love. And they also do different events with like Sublime Donuts. So they'll pair some of their beers with like the different donuts. They sold me. I was sold on donut.
Right. I love that. And I love that we have so many local options as well. So for all of those who are joining us right now, I'm talking to Bethany Forrest. She is the owner of Tchin Atlanta, a local bartending service. We just made a bourbon sour. So if you have any questions about, I know hers is so pretty. I'm not even showing it.
Yours was gorgeous.
It's a pop of color in there. So if you have any questions for her about quarantine cocktails or anything else, just comment below and we're going to try to get to them during the broadcast, or we can answer them afterwards as well. So thank you all for joining us. It's such a treat on a Wednesday to have this happy hour with you. So let's go to our next cocktail.
Certainly.
One of your signature ones?
Yes, actually. Well, and I meant to mention Old Fourth Ward Distillery. They do a vodka, they have a bourbon and a gin, and they have another, it's a lemon vodka. It's called Lawn Dart, which is delicious. So this is what that brand would look like. I don't have any here, but they're right here located in Old Fourth Ward, and I'm an Old Fourth Wardian, so I had to mention them.
Oh, nice. Well, I've not been there. So I've been to some of the breweries in Atlanta, but I have not been able to make it out to all of them.
There's so many. Like you said, there's so many to explore.
And we can go and explore some more. Okay.
Definitely.
So what do you have for your signature? Is this something you completely created on your own, or was it a request?
Actually, it's a request. So I wanted to do something. It's so rainy out, and I wanted to do something very summertime. And we're going to do a blueberry lemonade. Oh. But I do everything, of course, fresh. So I made a blueberry simple syrup from scratch last night.
Nice.
So we're going to do that. I wanted to also do cocktails that everybody pretty much could have the ingredients in their home. So today we'll use a Sky vodka.
Okay.
I have citrus, but you can actually use any vodka, even if it's flavored, because the the blueberry syrup is going to add the blueberry essence to it. All right, so we are going to, pardon me as I rinse. I didn't realize how much work we did for that sour.
Oh, I know. My hands are sticky. I was like, I'm cleaning on the ice.
Okay, so we're going to do 2 ounces of the Sky Vodka Citrus. And this is also going to be...
And I'll have the recipe. We'll share it with our viewers as well, and I'll put it in the comments later.
Perfect. Absolutely. You gotta have the recipe so we can recreate.
I know.
All right, and now we're going to do equal parts of the syrup, the blueberry syrup, and then we'll do equal parts of the lemon. Okay. So we're going to do an ounce of blueberry syrup because I like sweet. I hope you do too.
I do like it.
And we're going to go back to our half of a lemon.
Okay.
Okay.
We're not wasting tonight.
Nothing. We waste nothing.
Yes.
And the good thing too is while you're having cocktails, it can be a healthy version. It doesn't have to be, you know, we have antioxidants. We all want to keep our immune system up with this COVID-19. So it's really important what we're ingesting. And so it's good to have fresh when you can, even if there's alcohol involved.
Yeah. So you can substitute. So if you don't have the blueberries, you can substitute with any other fruit with the recipe?
Sure. Actually, yeah, you could use strawberry. You could use peach. Okay. And I actually have different simple syrups that have those. So if you don't have the syrup itself, you can always muddle. Let me see if I can show that. You can always muddle the fruit. If you have like a simple syrup that you purchased at the supermarket, you can always muddle the fruit, add the simple syrup, and then it will take on the essence of the fruit. So it's kind of a fluid. It can be any kind of lemonade that you want.
I like that.
Okay.
Now I have my muddler too.
Ooh, you got the good one. I love it.
This is my favorite. Like I just feel fancy if I'm muddling something.
And you know what? That's the muddler that you want. Like I had to leave mine at work because again, we didn't have any notice. So this is the one I just had at home, but your muddler is perfect because it's a good height. So you want a muddler. You want a muddler that's at least about 7 inches, 7, 8, because it helps you muddle easier. And you don't risk, you know, going too far into the glass or breaking the glass because you have a good amount of distance. So, way to go, Tran. You are more ready for this than you know.
Something right.
Okay, so we have our vodka, we have our lemon, and we have our blueberry syrup. We are going to ice the glass. I like to use a Collins glass, so you get that real lemonade. We're in the South. Right. We like lemonade. Yeah. So we're just gonna ice that.
So it seems to be super simple.
You know, us being home, you can make wonderful, delicious, thoughtful drinks, but really simply. You know, it can be complex just because you have added some love to the drink. You've added some fruit to the drink. You put a little extra effort. When you have your bourbon sour, you will enjoy it so much because you built it.
Yeah.
If you build it, it will come. And I also really like the fact that you can control how many calories you're consuming when you prepare at home. And this is actually going to be very flavorful and not too many calories, and you'll see why. So I'm going to shake it 15 seconds. 15 seconds is my favorite duration of time to shake cocktails because it breaks down the citrus and the sugar. All right.
That's why you're the expert. You make it look cool.
Oh, thank you. I do what I can.
How pretty that is.
Right over the ice there.
Beautiful.
And now, in keeping with our control of the calories and sugar amount, we're just going to top that off with a little close-up.
Okay.
Okay. So you still have a lot of the lemon. You still have the blueberry essence. You top that right off.
Beautiful.
And then you can enjoy that. And as the ice melts, you'll see the complexity from the syrup will come from the bottom of the glass. Like it'll all kind of mix in.
Okay, I'm definitely trying that because I love blueberries and lemon together.
So good.
Bethany, we have a question from Troy Hale. He's asking, he's just learning how to make drinks. Are there a few simple ideas with items you may already have?
Absolutely. I always say, you know, you have sugar in your house, so you can always use sugar. If you wanted to make a simple syrup, you just melt. It's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio, so you'll use your sugar and then that same amount of water. Put it on the stove, allow it to get warm, and just stir it until it has all dissolved. Let it cool, and you have simple syrup. Any citrus goes well with most drinks, so you never have to really worry too much about which citrus you're using. Just make sure you have some citrus at home. Also proportion. So you want to make sure your portions are matched up. So if you're doing a certain amount of, let's say you're doing 2 ounces of alcohol, you want to have about 75.75 or 1 ounce of a citrus and a sugar to balance it out.
Okay.
I hope that
Yeah.
helps.
That's good to know because I never know because sometimes if I'm just guessing, I end up throwing it out because it's too strong or too sweet. Ray Baker is asking what bourbons do you recommend without breaking the bank? I know, right? Bourbon sour and other bourbon mixes would be made because he doesn't drink it straight. So what would you suggest?
Buffalo Trace.
Okay.
One of the reasons it's my favorite is because, or one of my favorites is because cost-wise, you get the most for your money. It's a pretty even and balanced bourbon. So even if you're not a strong bourbon drinker, we have some really high proof bourbons out there that are just too much for some people to take. I'm one of them and I love bourbon. So Buffalo Trace is awesome. And it actually is in the higher end around with like Weller, the ever elusive Pappy Van Winkle that everyone wants.
I know.
Well, Buffalo Trace is made by the same distillers. So, you get the same quality.
Right. Without the price tag.
Out the price tag. And I think we could all use a little ease into our pockets.
Joyce is saying that's great because she always makes hers too strong. Yeah. So that's what happens when I try to do things on my own. So you mentioned the simple syrup, and I saw your video on Instagram about this, and that's one of the things that drew me to you is that you were doing all these things with fresh ingredients because you're right. I think we're getting away from the artificial flavored drinks and mixes and things like that and really enjoying like a fresh margarita. Oh, look how pretty that is. What did you add?
So I just put a little mint and then blueberries and you have a little lemon wheel there.
Oh, pretty. It's about presentation. That looks so great. So if you would you share your simple syrup ideas with us?
Absolutely. Oh, I had fun last night. I was up late because I got inspired. So I make these, like I said, it's a hobby. I'm always kind of pairing different things together. I have my blueberry syrup here that we just used for a cocktail, the blueberry lemonade.
So it's equal parts water and sugar that you just melt down.
Well, so with mine, and one of the reasons I have these different simple syrups out, I use different sweeteners based on what fruit I'm using. So for instance, this is a pineapple simple syrup. And with this one, because I really wanted that color, it's a lighter yellow to come through, I use the granulated sugar.
Okay.
So that one is for that. Actually, for the peach, and there's still peaches, fresh peaches in there.
Pretty.
So it's almost like marmalade in a way, except it is just more liquefied. I will strain that before I actually go to use it.
Okay.
But I've used cane sugar for this one. So this one I actually don't have in the container, but I use a cane sugar, and I'll show that to you. The beautiful thing about farmers markets here in Georgia, you have everything you need right there in a farmers market. So I use everything from DeKalb or any other local farmers markets. And you melt this down the same way you would granulated sugar. It has more texture and you have a more sweetness and you have a little bit more of like a brown sugar feel to it than just the flat granulated. So I use that for the peach.
It's so pretty.
Thank you. And then I did the same with the strawberry simple syrup. So this is a strawberry mint.
Oh, and mint. Okay.
Strawberry mint.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
You said that you also use honey and do you use maple syrup as well? So if you don't want to use sugar?
Yes. So the thing about our bourbon cocktail that we did, if you add honey to the bourbon sour, that makes it a gold rush. And that gives it a whole nother complexity. Oh, wow. If you were to use the brown sugar, you get more of a molasses with it. So it's just about which sweetener you want, and the notes from the bourbon will be picked up by that sugar or enhanced by that sugar. So yes, I have a honey simple syrup and I have a light brown sugar as well. And I like this because it's still light enough without being overly heavy with the maple.
Yeah, it sounds like something that you can use for other things too. So if you wanted to use it in another, like a mocktail or
yes,
iced tea or lemonade or anything like that. So I'll have to spend the weekend just making up different concoctions. I also want to go into some tools. Like we mentioned the muddler, but
Yes.
what are some things like if you want to have a home, bar, cocktail area, what are some things that we are must have?
Okay, so a must have, I suggest a lot of us bartenders, we can free pour. I use the jigger on my demo videos because I want people to see and get familiar with the amounts. We free pour though. So I always suggest having a jigger.
Okay.
For your proper measurement. Again, to help in keeping with your cocktails balanced. You want to have a double strainer, especially if you make simple syrups and things like that. As we just use we use fresh fruits. You want to make sure that the pulp doesn't get into the drink. You want to make sure that you have the juice without the addeds. So, double strainer. Bourbon lovers, a bar spoon.
Yes.
Okay. When you make old fashions and other things, you want to stir it and not shake it. You only want to shake your cocktails if you have citrus and or sugar in there. Citrus is an automatic shake to break up that acidity.
Okay.
And last thing I would say, a shaker. Now you can have your standard shaker here. You could do a tin and a shaking glass, but you definitely want to have one or both of those.
Okay. Yeah, we've tried several different shakers, but then I see in the bars, a lot of the bartender will just have 2 glasses even, or 2 cups or glasses. So Joyce is asking, I want to go back to the simple syrup. She's asking, so you mix the honey with the water when you make the simple syrup?
Mm-hmm. With the honey, what you'll do is actually just you can put that on the stove, or you can just have a ceramic bowl. And you want to add hot water, equal parts hot water, or you can cut the water in half. You can have 1 to 0.5 of the water, depending on how thick you want the honey to be. Because it's already in a liquid form, you don't have to give it that intense heat that you would for the sugars to melt down.
Mm-hmm.
So half to 1-to-1 ratio. And stir it until it's a little more malleable, and then you're all set to go with the honey. It's actually faster than the others.
Yes, I bet. Yes. Okay, so I want to wrap it up with, I know we're halfway through 2020 already, but what are some big trends? I know that Joyce is saying thank you.
You're welcome, Joyce.
So Joyce, if you make it, let us know. We want to hear how it turned out.
Take a picture.
So if anyone makes any of Bethany's cocktails, please take a picture and share it with us.
I would love that.
Go find her on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll share all that information with you. So Bethany, I feel like we've gone through, like we're talking about the mules and the cosmopolitan and the gin and tonic and the bourbon. So what are the big trends that we can expect for the rest of the year?
Ooh, I think people are really going to want martinis, and I think the bourbon and actually gin. I think gin making a nice resurgence too.
Okay.
So it seems like people are ordering martinis a little bit more, which is nice. I think it's nice. And more just really classic. People are going back to the classics, back to the basics. I think that even with beers, we went so far to the left with all that you can do with beer. People are going back to, can I just have a stout? We have Guinness. It's kind of just back to the basics time, just overall. But I think definitely in our cocktails, and I think gin, Tom Collins, any kind of sidecars, all those classics are coming back.
I was just thinking about a sidecar. That's funny you mentioned it, because my husband just bought some this week, and I was surprised because we're more, bourbon, vodka.
Yes.
So, let me see. Troy is saying, I think that she does that and then cooks it. Oh, he's answering. Thank you, Troy. So he's answering the question for Joyce. So, yes, a little honey, brown sugar, and lime juice.
Yeah, that always goes a long way.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure. I mean, this is how you spend happy hour with someone who's like so fun and entertaining and educational. I learned so much today. For all of those of you who are watching, please, check out Bethany's pages and support her, especially during this quarantine. Hopefully you get, back on track and back in business. And if anyone wants to have either the virtual happy hour and parties or have you over, I know that people are starting to have backyard parties again. It may be it may look a little different from the past, but
Yeah.
you're back in business for that as well?
I am open to it. Of course, discussing how social distancing, and I'm extremely I'm OCD in terms of hygiene, so I clean, clean, clean. But yes, I'm definitely up and ready to work. And also I'll be selling these simple syrups. I'll have that all packaging and everything set up by Monday.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I'll be offering those as well. I have my Instagram account where you'll be able to get the updates, and my Facebook page, Tchin Atlanta, for any business updates. And if you have an event, please do reach out. I'm ready to come make you some specialty cocktails.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, and chin chin.
And
Cheers.
Tchin.
Thank you everyone for watching. Have a great week.
Thank you, Trey. You too. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.